Now, have no doubt, London cab drivers are the best. They study years to earn the right to wear this badge. They carry a photographic memory of every street in the city, and they drive the most iconic cab in the world. And yet, they're among the most maligned characters on our city streets. So watch now, as Arena Cab Driver goes way beyond the average 10-minute journey to delve deep into the soul of the London cab driver.
You put a young lad on the knowledge, and he spends 3 years, best part of 3 years, reading London. And by the time he's finished, he knows every nook and cranny.
Let's have a cup of coffee, more.
In a 6-mile area from Charing Cross. What does he get? He gets a badge and a licence. You're just a cabman, You're nothing. We're really low man on the totem pole.
You are all bloody robbers.
Rogues, thieves, vagabonds.
Fat, white, racist,
Selfish, arrogant, greedy.
Essex boy, Freemason.
Is this your view of London's cab drivers?
I was at Heathrow the other day, yeah, parked in a rank, and a fucking minicab pulled up behind me, yeah, a minicab. I know it's a minicab, don't I? It's one of these 15-year-old Nissan Bluebirds, different coloured doors and bumpers, yeah? The geezer driving it is one of these refugees, isn't he? A fucking Bosnian. I'll get out and say, mate, you can't park in a rank, you ain't done the knowledge. Well, he don't understand a word I said, does he? He's only been in the country 3 weeks. 3 weeks! It took me 3 years to do the knowledge. 3 years.
Gentlemen, this is what you're here for this afternoon, because you want this. There are 20 of you in this room today. Have a look round at each other.
Proceed over Westminster Bridge.
Leave on the left, Exeter Street. Right.
5 of you,
left, Adam Street.
at the end of this talk, will not come back to the public carriage office.
Exeter Street. Right, the Strand. Left.
10 of you will not make it until the end. You will not get the knowledge of London. This leaves 5 of you in this room who will become licensed London taxi drivers. Just 5 of you. Gentlemen, you've got to get this map in your head.
Repetition.
And you've got to be able to see where you're going in your mind.
25,000 streets and roads and everything down them.
We do the knowledge, mate, all right? That's like doing 2 degrees at once. One from Oxford and one from Cambridge.
That street, tick it off the list.
It's out on your fucking moped, come all weathers.
Obsession and compulsion kicks in.
About a third of our cab drivers pass through this school. They must be of good character with a perfectly clean record.
Problem solving. It's just down to you.
Take me from Middleton Square to Golden Square.
Tower Street to Phoenix Street.
You must eat, live and sleep the knowledge.
The decision they know enough is not theirs to make.
I hope I'm not doing it for years.
Not surprisingly, the carriage office is regarded with some awe.
If you don't look smart, you won't be seen.
You go into this room and it just swallows you up.
It gets harder and harder as they near the end.
It gets worse before it gets better.
We keep London moving. Without us, these big businessmen couldn't get to their meetings, could they? Well, let's face it, they probably couldn't even find London from Heathrow. Do you know why they couldn't find London? Because they ain't done the fucking knowledge, that's why.
you start, there are one or two things I want to make quite clear. Firstly, when you get to be a cab driver, you cut yourself right off from the rest of the human race.
You're an individual.
Everybody's got it in for you, and nobody loves you.
Nobody tells you what to do.
It's hard work and long hours.
You go out in the morning with no money in your pocket, and the day is a challenge.
If you get on a night work, it means lots of overtime lolly, which is very handy, but makes you highly unpopular with the missus.
The freedom it gives you is incredible.
I know.
If you don't work, you don't eat.
If any of you don't fancy the job, now's your time to speak.
I loved it. I think anybody who says they don't like cabbing, must be something wrong with them.
South London, East London, North London. It's mountainous. It's like falling into the abyss. It's a massive commitment. Actually bigger than what you actually even think. It's everything. It's all you do. You have to learn that 6-mile radius.
Right, you've all had a chance to study this map of the town. Then, supposing you had to pick up a fare there to go to the station there. What's your best route?
London has always been little villages.
The best route, I said, not the shortest.
You, a master of it all.
A cab driver never goes straight anywhere, mate.
You know it all. You drive through it all. You see it all.
Down there, along here, up there, there, and there.
The smell, the noise, it was wonderful.
I've 2 small kids, so I have to work it around them. I drop them off at school and go out on the bike, then pick them up at school, get back home, get the tea on the table, do the homework, you know, housework, bathing, laundry, and then you've got to sit down and study, you know.
There is nobody in the world better than a London cab driver in traffic. When you're in traffic and a cabman you think is going to cut you up, he's not going to cut you up, he's not going to damage his cab, he knows to an inch exactly where he can put his cab. Put him on the open road and he's not good, he's not good.
Right, mate, hop in.
We leave Oxford Street, we do a left into Park Lane, down the Hyde Park corner. Cromwell Road, they dig it up every other month. We used to be able to do a left and a right turning down Oxford Street. Now you have to go from square to square to go through Oxford Street. A lot more traffic on here than what it used to be. When I done the knowledge, I done it in 18 months. Now they tell me it's taken them between 3 and 4 years. I can't believe how long it's taking people. Just once in the winter, I got frozen to the bike and my wife had to lift me off of it.
Order, please. I tell you what, Jim, we should have a gavel here. A gavel. And a gavel should knock, knock, and then somebody talks.
Do you honestly think this game's going to be going in another 5-7 years?
It will if we keep fighting for it.
I'll tell you what, you're all fucked.
Too many doom and gloom merchants in this game.
No, Terry.
You're all fucked.
At least individual characters are going.
Now, when you were, so to speak, shut up inside here, how did you communicate with the driver?
Well, you open this little trap door. Marble arch.
You should always be polite to the public, even though they don't deserve it.
That's it, now keep it nice and smooth, that's it, keep it going.
And I always used to wear a cap.
That's the idea.
Always tip your cap. Where to, madam?
And just remember, all the time you're cruising, you're on the lookout for fares.
Where to, miss?
So keep those eyes going.
Oh dear, oh Lord, I haven't been called Miss for years.
That's it, lovely. Now you've all got a touch of the cabbie's eye.
Your object is to be as nice and as pleasant as possible, even though you hate the sight of the people. You know.
Trainload of tourists reported arriving Victoria. Platform 2. Right, stand up. Right. Lovely. Yes, sir. Good luck. Get one for me.
I'll do my best, sir.
Leave by Haymarket, turn left into Pall Mall East, right into Regent Street, comply Piccadilly Circus, forward into Conduit Street.
Red leader to squadron. Pedestrians sighted 12 o'clock high. Good luck, chaps. Tally ho!
You get into an individual's cab, and you never know what you're going to get. He might be a really quite passive kind of guy, or he may have woken up that morning and his wife may have said, I've had enough, I'm off. It's our cab, it's our little bit of space. But people get in the cab and they just assume we're going to be polite.
All right, Sarge, I'm here. Don't do your nut.
And they can be rude to us.
Kindly concentrate on your driving.
But if we're rude back,
Don't belt up.
they want to report us.
Help! Police! Stop the cab!
Move over and give us a bit of room, mate.
Right Friday Street, left Cannon Street, right Threadneedle Street, forward the bank.
Police in those days, and I always think that they were very fair.
Forward Ludgate Hill.
If a policeman was a young butter boy policeman.
Bare left Queen Victoria Street, right Old Bailey.
The sergeant would say to him, on your beat today, go and nick a few cabmen.
You're not wearing a badge either. Let's see your license.
I left home quite young. I was doing whatever I had to, just to get some money.
Is that him nicked all right? Go on. He has, you know.
Some of the stuff that I was doing was bordering on, is this legal? Some of my friends started to, go to prison. And I had to really think about where my life was going. And I always thought, if things don't work out, I'll do the knowledge. You get your licence, you earn big bucks. That's what I thought.
So why are you making
There's a kid there gone into a big mortgage and he's going to be
I've got a big mortgage.
Well, don't you shut up about the fucking money.
They're working from 8 o'clock in the morning till fucking midnight.
Yeah, but hasn't it always been like that, Tel? And it always been like
There
that?
should be rules that you shouldn't have to work them hours.
You do 3 to 4 years, you will drive a cab in the daytime and average the best part of, say, £12, £13 an hour.
Yeah.
Not much more.
No, I'll make you right.
Possibly less.
You've got to show them. You've got to show them where the money goes.
We ain't got a second job like you.
second job. How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you?
Who's a razor king? How very dare you?
I was the youngest cabman ever. I was exactly 21.
And then I got my badge, and it was party time.
To go out and actually earn money was a wonderful feeling.
Working in the day, drinking of a night.
I was earning £3.10, and that was more than what my brother was earning as an engineer.
For a couple of years, it was fantastic.
It was always cash.
And I actually saved up enough money in about 18 months to go travelling around the world with my girlfriend.
Most people always have great suspicions about what a cabman earns, and no cabman will ever tell them, because the only person knows is the cabman and between whichever god he follows. Even his wife would never know how much money he earns, because if she knew, she'd tell people.
The one you own that blue Mondeo outside? The one parked 5 foot away from the curb? I bet it's a bird, isn't it? Is it yours, love? No, I didn't think it would be. I'll tell you something, there better not be no scratches on it, love. 36 grand a cabbage now. 36 grand.
Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street. Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street. Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street. Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street.
Left Donegal Street, right Rodney Street, forward Muriel Street, right to Caledonian Road, left Copenhagen Street, left St Pancras Way, left Agar Grove, right York Way.
London is my city.
I love London.
The road, close the street.
We've got it on our doorstep and we take it for granted.
Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street. Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street. Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street. Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street. Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street. The road, close the street. Repetition, 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 repetition. The road, close the street.
Well, when I look round now in London, I don't go there very often these days.
Love, if it ain't old Sid.
Yeah, that's right.
But when I look round up Hoxton and Roxton Market and all that, and there it is, all in its modern shishi, yuppified people living in there.
There in the docks of Bermondsey, you'll scarce believe the things you see, such riches are unfurled.
I remember once upon a time, if you got a call to go to Hoxton Market, you looked at it with fear and trepidation because you was liable to get your throat cut.
Tell us, Sid.
Oh, ho, ho, Bermondsey, that's home to me. I'm longing for a moment when I shall see the happy, laughing, razor-slashed faces of the people I love. Back home in Bermondsey,
Inclined rock.
I wanna be
Inclined
because the smuggled booze they've got is practically free. And how I miss the smell of the gasworks and the people I love. Cool.
It was quite an esteemed job in the East End. Publican, cab driver.
A lot of the family were taxi drivers, cab drivers.
Cab drivers just seemed to have money.
A lot of them also gambled.
And they're away.
I can remember being in a pub with my dad, and he was with a group of his friends.
From sort of 4 onwards, I was taken to the White City dog track.
And I can remember these guys having big wads of money.
They never kind of had any money.
I can't remember that being the case with my dad.
He was a good dad, as dads go.
You know, he'd always be saying, I haven't really got any money.
Hello, guys. Hi, Sid. Hello, Jimmy. How you going, mate?
Right, look at the amount of work we've lost.
Oh, all right.
The reason you're spending more time queuing on the ranks is because you're outnumbered by 60,000 licensed minicabs.
No, you ain't.
You are. That's the figures they give out, TfL.
Listen, they're not all out at the same time then, are they?
Even we are sucky suck.
Well, the flag's pushed down and the meter is a-ticking away. I got another fare and I made a lot of trips today. There's nothing like a driving a hack. Gotta get 'em there and bring 'em back. I'm a taxi cab driver and I make my living this way.
If you was driving along with, say, Oxford Street for a start, and you see one of them picking up a job at the side of the road, you would pull in front of him so that he couldn't take it.
The station on time, I'll bet he's gonna tip a dime. 6 days at the wheel with a speed zone on my mind.
This is the first serious threat to the monopoly of the cab trade. Well, I feel very bitter about it. These minicabs are coming in through the back door.
This is a diabolical liberty.
I suggest to these cab drivers, these mini-cab drivers...
It took me 18 months to do the knowledge.
I suggest that they go through the orthodox way, through Scotland Yard to become cab drivers.
Well, as you might have gathered, the taxi drivers aren't at all keen on the minicabs.
Minicabs? You got to be fucking joking, mate, ain't you?
The London cab here only marches on the 6 centre miles of London.
I was talking to a minicab driver the other day. He thought Madame Tussauds was a fucking brothel.
And I don't think it would be necessary for our drivers to know where the Fly Fishers Club is, for instance.
I'm a taxi cab driver and I gotta be rolling on.
When Welvet Motors started, we actually used to go into a public phone box, ring his number, and then put a polo mint underneath the receiver so that we blocked his phones all night long and he couldn't get no work. 2 drivers did tip 2 of them over one night, but they got caught doing the second one and they got arrested and was put in Brixton.
Where the parties go on till dawn.
No, not Brixton.
You that I'm gone.
Wandsworth Prison.
Driver and I gotta be rolling on.
I'm very much opposed to this magistrate's rulings.
These very harsh sentences on the 2 drivers.
That seem to look upon cab drivers as villains.
Well, I don't see any sense in it.
Yet they trust us with their children, take them to school. They trust us with their girlfriends late at night to take them home.
Cabmen have always had trust. With this badge you've got a number on it and you can't run away. If the police take it away from you, you can't work as a cabman anymore. Remember before the war, once pulling round the back of the Bank of England, and I pulled into the yard there and they put 4 gold bars in the back of the cab. He said, well, drop this so there'll be people waiting for you in Hatton Garden. And I took the gold bars there. Nobody with me. I could have run away with them.
A couple of months ago, really, I was sitting on a hotel rank and a woman, the doorman hailed me and she said she wanted to go to Portland Place. And there were 3 people. There was a woman and 2 children. And I was thinking about something at the time, so off I went to Portland Place. When I got to Portland Place, I noticed there was only 2 people in my cab. No adults, just 2 children. They got out and they paid me. And I thought, how wonderful that this woman can feel safe to put 2 children into my cab, take them to school, no problems, get out, they'll pay me and tip me, and walk away.
The nearest thing to an invisible man is a cabman. All you know is the back of his head. But he knows every movement you make. He watches everything. Cabmen have got, not only they got good eyes, they got very long ears. Long ears. You have to whisper very quietly, otherwise the secrets can be out.
Excuse me, sir. Does this pearly ring belong to you?
What? With Tweeds?
You know, you can be in a cab for 10 or 15 minutes and tell someone your whole life story.
Passengers during the course of the day wouldn't say more to you than thank you very much.
You can have some really interesting conversations with people.
Other days you couldn't stop them talking.
You can have some really awful, conversations with people.
I've had politicians arguing in the back of the cab. I've had husbands and wives.
Some are quite interesting.
They wouldn't do it in front of their servants or anything, but they do it in front of a cabman.
Who can you talk to you're never going to see again?
You'd get a woman come jumping in the cab in a furious temper.
Who's safe on this planet? That's not going to report you, not going to tell anybody.
She'd tell you all the family history and what the villainy is and all that.
Because you're never going to see him again. It's a cab driver.
What do you think of my bloody husband?
That cab driver's never going to ring your wife up. He doesn't even know who you are.
It was a cheap visit to a psychiatrist.
He doesn't even want to know who you are.
What does a psychiatrist do? He just listens to people talk.
Right, let the man have his share, right? One at a
When's the
time.
last time you picked up off a hotel and went to the airport? Not that you'd want it, because it's a nightmare getting back.
Today, funnily enough.
Oh, right.
City Airport.
How many times this week then?
3.
You greedy bastard.
Oh my God, Heathrow Airport. I could talk.
I spoke to a
I
cab
could
driver.
write a book about it.
This is exclusive. Go on, mate.
It's not exclusive, it's
Don't patronise him.
A lot of people won't work the airport because they used to get plenty of aggravation there.
You pulled up, walked in, a load of strange faces, all talking to each other, all knew each other, and you felt completely out in the cold.
If you was more or less a stranger, they didn't want you up there because you was taking one of their jobs away from one of their mates.
I very much would like to go to London Airport.
London Airport, right. That cost you £2, you know that?
£2?
Yeah.
You are making a colossal joke of me, is it?
When I first went there, even mates of mine didn't talk to me.
You had to be a bit tough. You had to sort of stand up and put your nose out.
Although I went to school with a lot of them.
And it was like anywhere you went, I guess, when you were new.
I'd offer them a cup of tea, and they wouldn't even accept that.
You almost had to earn their respect somehow, or earn something, by being sort of seen there a lot. So, you know, the expression was you had to become a face.
It took me 9 months before they accepted me into what I would call their clan.
I don't use Heathrow, I use Gatwick. Well, it's better if you live in Bermondsey, innit? I've got a villa in Tenerife, in between the casino and the Bougainville Player. It's on the 3rd floor, it is. Looks right over the pool. Fucking lovely.
After I've been working Heathrow about 2 years, I got into the rhythm of how they was working, and they used to give me my jobs and look after me.
It was a nice place to be able to go and communicate with other people who had the same thoughts that you had and the same job that you had, so you could share stories. You need to have that, place to go and play almost. And let it all out, let it rip, let it go, because you haven't been able to do that all day in the cab. There were so many people there, and if you think about it like a ginormous place to dump, I don't know, anxiety, frustration, anger, and it was kind of a place to be able to go in there and shout. Kind of one of those places, there were some real interesting, fascinating characters up there that I got to know. That's your life, that's your community that you go to every day. It's like going to the office every day. some people used to call it like going to a holiday camp every day because it was good fun. And we'd sunbathe in the summer and do things like that, you know, and then be upset that we had to take a ride because it meant we had to, you know, stop laying on the grass and having a drink. But there was something real about it, but also something, you know, that you didn't want to share with too many other people either outside the cab trade because no one else would understand it. One day, someone put a photograph on the wall in the canteen, and it was like, oh, well, he was, you know, and I remember the guy very well, and he was an extremely nice guy and very liked. Subsequently, when anyone died, they started putting their photographs up. And as they put their photographs up, it was quite clear that these were people that you really, you know, you kind of missed on a daily basis.
When we went to London Airport, we found this situation. The airport policeman had been called to investigate a complaint that a minicab had picked up a passenger without a booking and had taken him to the central terminal. The passenger had made the complaint. He was a taxi driver.
If you caught them walking across the concourse with one of the passenger with his cases, you used to just front him, and he 9 times out of 10 he would put the cases down, and you would take him, and the passenger will follow his cases. Today, they won't give it the cases. They'd rather fight you for it.
We're not sick. Hell, we are brave. At the end of the day, we are all intelligent people. And we're not going to let it... No, because we are. You've got a certain brain to absorb.
You haven't. Your brain's the size of a pea. Your brain's the size of a carpenter's brain.
And these 4 contenders who have won their way through to the final are...
You're working class.
Fred Housego, the licensed taxi driver living in Rickmansworth and working from the rank at Heathrow Airport.
I picked up this head doctor the other day in Queen Square, yeah? Cracking looking bird. She started going on about my large hippocampus. I said, my large fucking what, love? Anyway, apparently they've done this research into taxi drivers' brains and how they get bigger after the knowledge. Well, I've said to her, you know, I said, that's not the only part of a taxi driver's body that's bigger, you know what I mean, love?
And our second contender, please.
You're sometimes better off not telling people that you're basically a cab driver.
Your name, please?
Fred Housego.
You might want to tell them you're something like a nuclear physicist.
Occupation?
Licensed taxi driver.
In the first round, you took Henry II of England. In the semi-final, you chose Westminster Abbey. What is your chosen subject this time?
Tower of London.
Mr. Housego, you have 2 minutes on the Tower of London, starting now. According to tradition, which King of England ended his life presumed murdered in the Wakefield Tower?
Henry VI.
Correct. Where were the crown jewels housed at the time of Thomas Blood's attempt to steal them in 1671?
Martin Tower.
Correct. The tower used to play a prominent part in the sovereign's coronation festivities. What was this?
They spent the night there before proceeding to Westminster.
Correct.
At the beginning, you get a lot of headaches.
You've only so much space in your brain.
I've felt it growing since I started.
It's good with the mental mind. Fidelia.
Correct.
Cook.
Correct.
Thomas Aquinas.
Correct.
Ice hockey.
Correct.
Haig.
Correct.
A lion.
Correct. But this year's Mastermind 1980 is London cabbie Fred Housego. And there'll be rejoicing in the ranks tonight, as they say.
So I came back, hoping to pick up where I'd left off before I went travelling. And I bought a cab. But the repayments were a hell of a lot of money. But I just thought I'm earning good money. Someone said to me once, it's like a money box. You know, you're just driving around and people are just putting money in it. You know, and I like that image.
There were times when I picked people up, women up, and to me at young 24, at young 21, 22, a woman of say 45 was an old woman, you know. And I said many a time I'd pick people up from Harrods or Harvey Nichols or one of those shops. And the woman has said, "Oh, driver," he said, "do you mind carrying my luggage upstairs?" And you think to yourself, luggage? Where's the frigging luggage? Oh dear, I've had women in the back of the cab showing everything they got. And they just delighted in the fact that you knew what they got. And before you know where you were in trouble. Because some people used to like a bit of rough, you know. They regarded cabmen as a bit of rough. And then many a cabman can tell you tales about that. Me used to frighten the life out of me.
Well, I think like any job, I suspect that you start off with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm. And one of the things you realise after doing the job for, say, let's say 10 years, is it's as good as it gets. This is it. You've met the highest point of the job. It's almost like you're on autopilot. Sometimes the autopilot bites back because you actually forget your destination and you've gone off in some trance or some fantasy world maybe, I don't know. There have been the odd occasion where you've actually had to say halfway there, "Excuse me, where are we actually going?"
Can I just tell you, this is why cab drivers come into places like this, because you're sitting in a tin box for quite a number of hours talking to yourself. A very lonely life. A very lonely life.
I'd probably been driving a cab about 20 years and I started to feel it didn't feel the same place anymore. A lot of the people that I knew when I went there somehow had gone.
Old man, look at my life. 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost. Like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you.
It started to feel quite morbid to me because not only was I missing them, but it was like, well, he's been here 30 years, you know, he's finished, here's his photograph, and it always felt like, is this what we're working towards somehow?
I need someone to love me the whole day
It's like a roller coaster driving a cab.
When it's busy, it's great, and when it's bad, it's really bad.
As long as you've got your bills paid.
When it is quiet and you are on your own,
You've got to do your hours.
you think too much.
My son's a cab driver.
All my cousins, my uncles.
When he starts talking like a cab driver,
Whatever you do, boy.
I have to pull him down a peg or two.
My father was a cab driver. He drove for 50 years. My father, his father, and his grandfather.
He'd always done the best he could do, really. He was just my dad. But I always gave him a hard time.
Even as a kid, I remember sitting in the front of his cab.
And I thought, God, I'll have some of that.
I started off as a young, innocent boy, and before I was another year older, I was an old, cynical man, because I'd seen everything and done everything.
Thank God for the rain, which has helped wash away the garbage and the trash off the sidewalks. I'm working long hours now, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. It's a long hustle, but it keeps me real busy.
From the streets, you get some bad ones.
As soon as I get in the cab, you think, I've got one here.
Because you're on your own with them, so you have to be careful.
You can be driving a cab for 40 years, but you still don't know how.
What am I going to do against 5 people that are drunk and want to have a fight?
You learn to look after yourself, don't you?
Become aware of how vulnerable you are.
If you don't get on top of it, you can just go under quite easily.
I don't work nights no more. The minicab drivers do take more chances now than what they ever done. They just pull up behind you or in front of you and even take the job.
After 100 yards, turn left.
You know, I think going away, having all that time away from home, the world opened up to me. And I think I was starting to feel low because I didn't want to be back driving a cab.
Things weren't good, the job wasn't very good.
I didn't want to be back in London, just stuck in the traffic.
It was late Friday evening, and I was driving along the Mall. Got a job in the back, and I'm on my way somewhere. And this guy said, "Oh, by the way, driver, can you tell me where the Prime Minister lives?" Now, all he asked me was where the Prime Minister lives, and I spent the next 10 minutes telling him what I thought about the country, what I thought about the state of the country, what I thought about the Prime Minister, what I thought about everybody else in London. But when I looked in my mirror, because I hadn't even looked in my mirror, I think his mouth was open, and I actually looked around and I said, "I'm really sorry. I had no idea what I've just been ranting about. You only asked me where the Prime Minister lived, didn't you?" And he went, "Yeah."
It was raining hard in Frisco. I needed one more fare to make my night. A lady up ahead waved to flag me down. She got in at the light. Oh, where you going to, my lady blue? It's a shame you ruined your gown in the rain.
Chaos and near panic in the world's major stock markets today. Stockbrokers' screens in London flashed red as more than £50 billion was wiped off the value of shares. The worst day in the stock market's history.
The recession didn't start straight away, but it didn't seem long after coming back that it changed. All of a sudden the work just stopped. It was like hitting a brick wall. Every cab seemed to have its light on. There was just rows and rows of cabs with their lights on. If the work's not there, what do? You just drive round and round and round, hoping someone's going to stick their hand out.
Just the same.
I kind of decided that I needed to have a look at who I was and why was I feeling this miserable. And someone suggested I went on this self-development course thing, and I sort of said, well, you know, where is this self-development course thing? And he said to me, it's in Bradford. I said, Bradford? You want me to go all the way to Bradford? And I said, I just, it doesn't appeal to me at all, and you asked me to go 200 miles to do it. And for some unknown reason, I went. One of the exercises that they asked you to do was to actually find someone in the hall. There were like 200 people in this room. Find someone you didn't like in the room. I said, you're asking me to pick someone in this room that I don't like. I've just left London like 2 days ago, and I don't like, there's 9 million people there I hate.
Cab drivers were literally cutting each other up to nick jobs. It became really horrible. But I had these cab payments to make, and so I just couldn't go home. The cab became like a prison. I couldn't get out of it. You know, I had to work. I had to earn some money. It felt like the work was never gonna come back.
I actually felt I needed an apology. I needed to apologise to these 9 million people because I'd been treating them pretty badly for a number of years. So I kind of didn't know how to do that. I thought, you can't write 9 million letters, you can't kind of get on radio because they'll think you're insane. So I went and stood in the middle of Trafalgar Square and just apologised and thought, I hope everybody heard that.
No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind the blue eyes.
As the economy went into decline, so did my mental health. I think I became very depressed. I didn't enjoy waking up and having a day in front of me. It's that thing of like, no one needs me. There was a couple of cab drivers, I believe, who even killed themselves. You know, it was very serious. I think one guy drove his cab off of a bridge somewhere.
Loneliness has followed me my whole life. In cars, bars, sidewalks, everywhere. There's no escape. I am God's lonely man.
A strange thing happened, you know, during this time as well. I had my cab stolen. I didn't know what I was going to do.
My dad was a cab driver. Very old school type of guy. He was very, yes sir, no sir, and he was just out there in his cab and he loved it.
I don't think my dad really enjoyed driving a cab, and I think that it was just a means to an end, and it was a way of getting money.
I think being a cab driver suited him. He liked to be on his own.
My dad never seemed to grow up. He didn't kind of mature and take responsibility for the family.
I don't see him that often. I'll probably see him out in the cab more than any other time I see him.
I didn't see a lot of him. He was just always working. He was almost like this special visitor in the house.
My strongest memory of my dad really is just being asleep all the time.
When he was at home, he was always asleep.
Maybe he used to sleep to forget about the job.
My mum would go, don't wake your dad. You know, he's got to go out in the cab tonight.
He doesn't really talk much about the job, my dad. Although he doesn't talk much about anything, really.
He would always come home and complain about people and complain about the traffic.
He was perfect to be a cab driver. He was his own boss. He could sit in the cab, you know, in his kind of armoured shell. And go out for 12 hours at a time, you know. The knowledge takes you everywhere. I go back to areas where I haven't been for a long time. And, you know, where I grew up. There was a sweet shop near my school, and it's still there. The news agency's still there. You know, and that I can more see that, you know, they had a stronger attachment than, you know, probably Nelson's column.
My dad died in '91.
And I didn't think they would have this kind of pull, the power that they still held.
I was like 39 years of age, and I was thinking, I feel like an orphan. You know, I don't have any parents anymore.
Fond memories of my dad and the cab parked outside.
I didn't know how to deal with that either, so I dare say that the general public got that in the neck as well. And I remember when he died, actually, I actually had a list of things I wanted to tell him about. And I was angry that he died because I didn't have a chance to share this list.
There's a run that goes up to, you know, you go up to Golders Green and you go up to Hoop Lane and there's the crematorium. You got to go. You can't. You know. You don't avoid areas. You go. But I didn't expect to be to go into Hoop Lane. It's where my wife was cremated.
I remember going out into the car park of this hotel in Bradford, and it was kind of strange because I'm in a car park in Bradford, overlooking a motorway. You know, 3 days previous to that, I'd have used an awful lot of cynicism to say, "What the fuck am I doing here?" sort of thing.
I got off the bike and just you know, to walk around.
But there was a peacefulness about me.
It was through her dying that I started the knowledge.
And I ended up kind of writing my dad a letter of apology.
It was like, you know, I was sort of saying, "Look, we're going to be all right. I'm doing the knowledge, you know. I'll be a cab driver. The kids will be all right."
And I didn't know where to send it, so I just sent it to him.
It's the knowledge.
Since TFL have taken over, the trade has gone down, down, and down.
Do you know who sits on a board meeting?
Nothing else.
Discussing our positions, they're all bus people. They put their hands up, they say yay. Yay?
Yay.
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 A friend of mine recently, I haven't seen for a while, was a cab driver. I think he was surprised to see me driving the cab again and being happy, and I bought another cab. You know, I've had this cab for 10 years now. You know, I live within my means. I learned my lesson, and he said to me, "You're driving the cab again?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm a born-again cab driver."
The London cab trade is the best trade in the world. They don't really even compete with anybody else. They're that good. Someone can get in your cab and just say somewhere, and you just go.
I don't know whether I'll end up like a typical cabbie, but I'll be a smart cabbie. I hope I'm always polite. Whether I end up really opinionated, I don't know. I could do. I hope not. Depends who's in the back, doesn't it?
It's Cab Night here on BBC4, and next off the rank, a classic drama by Jack Rosenthal. Nigel Hawthorne, Maureen Lipman and Michael Elphick are all driven round the bend, trying to learn the knowledge.